Today we see the galactic barrier. It's a traffic jam of space balls, and people have backstories they're brooding about. Talk about all in episode 10 of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery, the galactic barrier after the jump.
This episode of Commander's Log is brought to you by Geek Renaissance. Need that special gift for the nerd in your life? Love supporting small business? Look no further than Geek Renaissance. The artist Sephra makes all items by hand and will boldly go to the final frontier for your unique gift. Head over to geekrenaissance.company.site and use the code FLOBITO, that's FLOBITO, to get 10% off your order. Don't forget to follow, like, and share Geek Renaissance on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Stand by, Captain on the bridge. Captain John, how's it going?
Bone da doom da doom doom bone doom da doom da doom doom. I am so happy today, Flobo. My goodness, what a lovely season of Star Trek Discovery we've been watching. It just it gets better and better. Though I got a couple issues with this one, but we can get to that.
You've got issues. Well, I'm surprised. I want to give a shout out to everyone watching right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and Twitch, and on LinkedIn for the second time ever. But we can't go through this alone. Come to you live from the shuttlecraft on a galaxy far, far away across a couple state lines. Please welcome Joe Townsel. Welcome back, sir.
All right, yeah, great to be back. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, Craig Robinson? Thank you so much for just
Greg
hanging with us
Robinson,
here on the USS Post Show. Well, let's talk about it, man. Season 4, episode 10, the Galactic Barrier, which I thought would have been a swerve. We actually saw the Galactic Barrier, and it's a lot more bulbous than I thought it would be. Balls everywhere. Hey, TVMA for a reason. Joe Townsel, tell me about the episode. What do you think? Overall thoughts?
Okay, well, I'm going to answer that initially by asking two questions.
Uh-oh.
Question number one. Now, we've seen the Galactic Barrier 3 times now, to my knowledge. We saw it in Where No Man's Gone Before and in By Any Other Name, in the original show.
Yes.
And we saw it again this week on Discovery. So it kind of looks the same in all 3 episodes. We got like basically a horizontal little disturbance there with some lightning and, special effects and so forth. So here's question number one. Why don't they just fly over it or under the thing?
Hey, you can't do that. That's plot.
It's like, as Spock would say, his sister is demonstrating 2-dimensional thinking. Am I right?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, well, I was like, that question is tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Question number 2,
yeah,
might be a reach, but I'm gonna put forth a quasi theory. I'm gonna ask this question to demonstrate that theory. Where are the Klingons?
We haven't seen them since Going to the Future.
And where are that we haven't at all. And I think this would be an opportunity personally to kind of put a little bit of a cap or, an extension at least on the Discovery Klingons. Did they get pushed back beyond the galaxy and now they become the foot soldiers maybe for this, species 10C? I don't know. Just saying, guys.
Captain John, let me talk to you for a second. Joe Townsel proving his propaganda trying to put the Klingons in the future of foot soldiers. Where do you land on this?
I do have to say this story is very much on rails, and we are going in one direction. Though the storytelling isn't terrible because they do keep upping the stakes and making things more difficult. But you bring up a good point, Joe. I mean, this 10C sending the DMA to our galaxy. If you haven't been watching this show, you've been missing a lot. All of this has been going in a very linear fashion. And it's really the Federation's story, if you're not in the Federation, you might not even have as much information as we, the viewers, have, knowing that there's this giant thing. And then we find out it's a mining tool. It's many, many light years around. if you're not part of the Federation, you're Chicken Little. The sky is falling.
Yeah. Overall thoughts, though? I know you got issues, but were you vibing with it despite the issues, or was
I'm
the
very
issues
much
too
vibing
great?
with it. No,
Okay.
I'm very much vibing with it. The issues for me, and I won't skip ahead to details necessarily.
Skip ahead, man. We all done the episode.
But you hinted at it beautifully in the preview to the show, in the prologue, if you will, when you said backstory. Because we're getting a lot of backstory. We're getting romances. We're getting, the parent-child relationship with Stamets and Tal. Like, all of these things are happening. Stress-free K, how you doing, man? All these things are going on right now in a story that pretty much is a ticking time bomb. And at the end, I'll just skip to the end. And at the end, it's like, I wonder what we'll find very, very soon, but not yet.
Yeah.
So it feels a little interstitial, this episode, but
sure.
But we still do learn a lot. We still do go forward a lot.
I want to hold that thought real quick. I want to shout out to Stress Free K. Thank you so much for tuning in. Craig Robinson too, man. I know it's like 8 hours in the future there. Are we still getting like those nice toffees from Cadbury? Let me know. And Stress Free K asked, they mentioned the Klingons twice so far this season. They got to be somewhere. I'm inclined to agree. Now, to your point, Captain, I do feel things are on rails. I feel like by any other name, this episode would be filler. But I enjoyed the filler. It's kind of like an Oreo cream cake. You had a little cream in the middle. It was great. Double stuff. It was great. It was double stuffed, man. Joe Townsel, let me ask you, because you're an author that's way more decorated than I am. When you have forward action moving and you take time to go back and really fill in the past of characters, how much of that is really a deft skill to nail correctly?
Well, maybe I've just been lucky. And I appreciate your kudos on that, my friend. It just seems to come naturally to me. So don't want to oversimplify it. But my writing style, just for a moment, is I think a little unusual compared to most, because I just basically put this piece here, and I just connect them all later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I definitely don't go as jump as I don't. It's not really on the rails, and it's not linear to begin with. Yeah. It might end up that way. Yeah. But I say, hey, this is going to be good. This is going to be great. This is going to be even better. Now I just got to connect it all so it makes some kind of sense. And that's why I appreciate stories like the one we're seeing now in Discovery, because we're getting clues. And I got to say, I thought this one, there wasn't a lot of whiz bang action in it, but I think there's a lot of advancement. And I got to say, I'm not saying John's wrong. I just hope he is, about it being like a kind of a dud revelation when all is said and done. That would be a major letdown. I really think there's, like I said, the Klingons probably not, but something like that, because we know it's going to. They've already said it's going to be something new. It's not going to be the Kelvins. It's not going to be but it could be adversaries or what have you that are working in correlation with this species. We got to wait and see, but yeah, that just to answer your question about me, Flobo, that just makes it a lot more interesting and exciting to put it down on paper.
Absolutely. This episode, I forgot to mention, directed by Deborah Kempmeyer. John, that's the thing, man. One of your guys ticked me off this week. I know you like the guy, but this COVID clown showing up, exerting his mental dominance, and then going on for the day. I'm not a big fan of that. What is up with your boy?
Kovic, played by filmmaker David Cronenberg, one of the most unique personalities, one of the most unique directors from let's face it, the end of the 20th century, the end of the 1900s, had some incredible directors, and they you got your Coppolas and you got your Scorseses, but you also have your Cronenberg. You're very intense, loves horror, loves psychological horror, Canadian, so coming from that different angle.
Canadian horror, lumberjacks.
Canadians are so different from Americans in such subtle ways, and I actually really I pick on them a lot because they're my people. My dad's family is Canadian, And I do think of Canadians as having their own culture. You're welcome, Canucks. You definitely do. So anyway, Cronenberg.
Backhanded thing I've ever heard. I think you have your culture. Thanks. You northern.
Hey,
Okay.
it's also in Canadian culture to be polite, so they'll forgive me. The thing that you've got with Cronenberg right now is he represents the whole concept that Alien is so alien that you can't guess it. You can't know. And it's ridiculous for you because at the beginning of the meeting, we see the camera go by all of the translation devices, all of these communications devices. And he's basically trying to explain to them, these are probably useless because they're based on communication that we understand. This is so alien. We're probably going in there with so much confirmation bias, we won't be able to get through.
Yeah,
and then
hashtag Darmok and Jalad Tanagra. Totally get it.
Yeah.
There you go. Darmok, perfect example. See, this is why, Joe, this is why I'm a genius. I'm the one who made him watch Darmok.
He did.
Ah,
I had no idea that it existed. Now I'm getting all the T-shirts and merchandise because of John. So you're welcome.
But yes, perfect example. What if you are speaking the same words, but the words have meanings that are entirely different? We have to understand, and that's really what I think this season is boiling down to for me. I know I every week I say a different theme that the season's boiling down to. It was like good dads at one point, and then it was like, feelings are important. Now I think it's like Alien is so alien, you can't even describe Alien.
That's deep. Maybe we are the aliens.
Oh, it could be. Well, I mean, I think we got a taste of that initially, as far as getting away from just the, okay, you're an alien if you have like a prosthetic on your forehead. You brought that up last time. And Species 8472, Voyager.
Yes.
I mean, can't relate to them at all. I mean,
right.
And if this is something that's off the scale from compared to that, then that's going to be the big payoff that I hope we're going to get, and the big surprise and just the challenge for our crew and our other characters, because
best
how
case
do you deal with it?
Yeah. Best case scenario. And worst case scenario, we go to a planet where it looks like a small town.
I mean, that is like a trope there in Star Trek.
Stranger.
You know how it
After
goes.
sugar cookies and some lemonade.
They've done it before. I'm always afraid they're going to do it. We seem to be in the Old West. I'm always afraid we're on the Fox backlot. I'm always afraid they're going to do that.
Welcome to Planet Hill.
Speaking of that Fox backlot, and it ticks me off because I used to work there. That's when they filmed Uptown Funk. So every time I see a palm tree in the back of that video, I'm like, wait a minute. We're gonna jump around here because we've all seen this first time or second time on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. It's a spoiler-filled show, so if you haven't watched the show, don't check it out. But we asked in the chat. Craig Robinson has this favorite part of the episode. Favorite part: the realization that Burnham is such a great, confident, capable captain. I'm going to rely on your expertise here, Joe. You had Burnham basically be an insurrectionist in the first episode of Star Trek Discovery. Season 4, she's the captain. She's like using the Vulcan side, her human side, trying to negotiate with Rilak, who has her own story this episode. Thoughts about Burnham as a captain? Do you want to compare her to other captains? Where do you stand on her right now?
Well, I mean, if asked to do so, I could compare to other captains, but I don't want to answer that question, and I'll tell you why. Because look at this,
tell me why.
This great, fantastic journey we've seen with from her for the past 4 seasons. As you say, I mean, she started off as an insurrectionist. Her heart was in the right place, but it didn't work out well for her. To the point of being taken, of course, a prison shuttle, and up to this point. So, I mean, why compare it to anybody else? I mean, the other ones went through the standard Starfleet rigmarole and training there.
My mom says that. Y'all confused about rigmarole.
That rigmarole.
Yes.
And of course, they all have their distinct flavor and personalities and characteristics. Yeah, but no, I mean, I gotta admit, when I didn't know what to make of it when the show first came on. So I knew they were going to be focusing on a character that was not the captain. It was actually almost like a lower decks character in that sense. And like I said, look at the journey. So it's paying off. That's why I don't want to see a bad ending of the season, John.
Yeah,
Good point.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I don't think we will.
I don't think we will. They
Yeah.
they do seem to be providing the alternatives to the previous alternatives. They do seem to be pushing us forward. It's a very progressive show in every sense.
Right.
So I
Agreed.
worry, but I also trust them quite a bit.
I have the worst respect though, because my favorite captain going into this was Lorca, but I will say that Burnham will become my captain. S4E10 actually answers this as well. I really like the beginning of the episode when Cronenberg and the Federation Security Council trying to figure out what to do next, because we all have ready room stuff. Fortunately, Earth and Navarre joined the Federation right in the nick of time. We all know Navarre has its own situation, because they're in that Alpha Quadrant. Right there, John.
Alpha Quadrant is such a I'd like to talk about Alpha Quadrant privilege. Almost got him to spit. Almost.
Wait, what?
I would have been drinking something.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad, super galactic, awesomely frightening stuff happens all the time in Star Trek. And how often does it happen in the Alpha Quadrant?
Look, my mom and dad worked really hard to get me a spot in Alpha Quadrant, bro.
we know that something is serious. The Borg, the Klingons, the DMA. We know it's serious when it gets close to Earth. That's how we know the stuff is about to hit the fan.
Sector 001. That's the center of the universe, baby. Come on.
I love it. I love it. And it's so funny too, because I think they mention at one point they're talking about the Vulcans or the Navarrians at this point, and they're saying, like, didn't you study Earth for like 100 years before you approached them?
Yeah.
You really knew what was going on with Earth before you got in there. So there is this sense that the center of the universe is basically the shared space of Vulcan / Navarre now, and Earth. It's hilarious, scary, actually, scary and hilarious.
I want to jump around here, Joe. Navarre gets a lot of time here because the president of the planet is on the ship because she is smitten with one Mr. Saru, but forget the will they or won't they. Let me ask you this, a very serious question, man to man. Do you ship them? Do you ship them? I mean, they're kind of cute. I would. I mean, Saru's tried,
Actually, I got, if I can be uncharacteristically sentimental for just a moment, further.
Uncharacteristic.
I think that was a very sweet part of the episode. Poor Saru, like, kind of got embarrassed and a little bit humiliated. So she just walked away from me, but then she sought him out at the end there when she was going to be on the ship, and she knew she was going to be there. He didn't, so she wait for that private time. But let me add something to that. Now here we go. I hope I'm not going to make a fool of myself by predicting this. Vulcan was destroyed in the Kelvin universe.
Yeah.
What are you implying?
I'm implying that Navarre may be having some problems here, by next episode or so.
So, Captain John, you have more of a heart than Joe, apparently.
I don't want it to happen.
I think Joe does. I think he does. I think he was. Oh. What better way to put love do the test than have a planet blow up? So we have this whole it's the Saru thing. He's trying to spit game, trying to be more than a friendship. He's kind of failing. I'm failing, but the president decides to go on a ship to the Galactic Barrier. Does seem to be very much smitten. We were talking about this early in the season there, John, about the love angles here on Star Trek between Michael and Book, Adira and Gray, that sometimes they kind of lean too heavy into that. Stamets and Culber. Does this one work for you?
Yes, but for just two reasons. And only the two reasons. Doug Jones and the woman who plays President of Navarre.
Mm-hmm.
I should have her name in front of me.
Don't worry, we got it.
I love these. I love these actors. I love them so much. I would watch them playing checkers. I love them. every single relationship. No, I don't. I mean, what? I'm an old man, so maybe I don't care that much. But
You didn't care about Adira and Gray.
I honestly, I didn't. I liked the characters very much, but do other stuff. Do other stuff. I don't need to watch you like, I'm so awkward. I don't need to see that.
If it's Joe, man gets a wife, he's already over it.
But I need to see whatever. John, though.
It's look, it's adorable when it's just anybody, but when it's these two actors, there's something there. And I'm watching it going like, do I want to see this? Well, it's kind of interesting though. How do you fall in love with a Vulcan?
I think about how to fall in love with a Kelpian. That to me was the biggest issue because Saru's basically genetically modified. He got his ganglia removed and he's basically a different thing. Like I think that would be the challenge from that side.
Interesting.
Speciesist.
That would be weird. Slow dancing with a Kelpian might be like slow dancing with an eel. I don't know.
Okay, you're turning me on. Stop.
However, guys, is there anyone sweeter than Saru?
No,
I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and that's why I think that that's a possibility that we're heading for a huge heartbreak, not just their relationship, but a bad thing for the Vulcan, or the Navarian president.
I agree with you in the sense that as we are setting up these delegates, yeah, that's interesting. Some wrestling going on there.
Okay. It's TVMA, but geez. One thing I want to see is Discount Duty Dan's getting it on with a Kelvin. We're fine. Go ahead.
Get it on with the big tadpole. We meet Dr. Harai.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be like our extra astrological linguist, our cunning linguist, if you will.
So awkward him trying to put Kovic over. It was a funny joke, guys. Get it? Have you not been to a Zoom meeting? Jeez, don't do that.
The interesting thing about Dr. Harai is he's yet another awkward kind of what am I looking for? He's a genius, but he's kind of grating. Wow.
A little social awkward, eating his peanuts and stuff in the meeting.
Yeah. Well, and did you notice that in every scene he's eating?
Yeah.
As a fat man, I find that extremely offensive. I am a fat man. Why can't a fat man be the one doing all the eating?
Representation matters.
Have you ever noticed that Brad Pitt, in like the last 15 years, every time he's in a movie, the character is eating? Every time. Because he thinks that's super interesting. Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11. Find one scene in Ocean's 11 where at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the scene, he's not eating. It's just weird. It's a weird character detail.
Same with Han and all the Fast and Furious movies. It's like, I'm so cool. I can get sustenance while things are going around me. I get it.
Yeah.
It is a characteristic of cockiness, though, John. Remember that, because both Kirks, Shatner and Pine, when they did the Kobayashi Maru, or in relation to it, eating that apple, because that's a arrogant, cocky move,
Kirk cheated. No, I'm just kidding. So we had
that's a good point, Joe.
We love cheaters here on the show. Two characters really got a lot of backstory. Let's go with the small one first. Rillick decides to potentially or temporarily abscond her role as Federation president to go.
President resigned. That's the biggest news story in the world. President resigned.
Not as big as Tarka and his kind of homoerotic relationship. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, but Rillick first. but Rillick basically absconds her role as president to be on this mission with Michael. And we had a little bit of that kind of tension that we saw in the beginning, but definitely a mutual respect. Joe Townsel, let me ask you this. There must be a little bit of temptation when you're writing characters who have that kind of story to have them be incendiary and fight all the time. We saw this kind of like cat and mouse game, and ultimately they were on the same team, Burnham and Rillick.
Well, I mean, it's great storytelling. I think it'd be now this is where my depraved mind goes, at least with stuff I write. But I kind of am waiting for that rug to be put out from under Burnham again. You know, it seemed like a little bit too pat and a little bit too chummy with the two of them at the end there.
Yeah.
So what is yet to come? I don't know, but I like the evolution thus far, and we'll see if it goes on that straight and narrow path, or if we have a little bit of a, like I said, a little pulling of the rug out from underneath.
Follow-up question, Joe. Did you buy Burnham's reason of having Rillick say that, hey, look, guys, the Terra Firma Alpha Quadrant's under attack? I did not buy Burnham's reasoning, but did you?
Well, the only reason I got out of it was that she basically thought it was that, the former president's duty, and role to make that announcement. But I got to admit, maybe I missed something. Enlighten me.
I kind of felt like Burnham was like, yo, you go through that bullshit because I didn't want you to say it. I wanted to hold that information. Go ahead, President. So she was like, oh, I want people to know that they trust you. I'm like, wait a minute, Michael. I don't buy that. Not just a second. But.
Well, definitely the heat off of Burnham. I mean, that's one possible motivation, to people can keep looking to her for the, the captain of the vessel versus the bearer of bad tidings. Let the former president take that heat. Why not?
That's a good point. Honestly, I thought this was a very anti-Donald Trump moment.
Oh,
fitting. Why
should I explain it?
I mean, it would help. I hate golf courses. No, I'm just kidding.
You get this little speech from Burnham about how important it is for a president to relay the bad news, but also show that they are unafraid, unintimidated, and that they have a plan, and that they're confident in this plan. And that's what you want from a president. And Trump never did that. And Biden does do that. Now, I don't think Star Trek is a very pro-American politics universe or world, but I love that line where she says, plus, you're my president too. And I don't know about you guys, but I grew up, because I'm a very old, very, very old man. I grew up at a time where no matter who the president was, you respected them.
Yeah.
Now, by the time we got to George W. Bush, that was really in shreds. That was barely holding together. And then, of course, when we had President Obama, I loved Obama. So my yes, I did. So come at me. I'm a liberal snowflake.
I would argue it was President Clinton, the Monica Lewinsky scandal and/or Watergate. But yeah, I'm with you.
And I understand that, but also I was one of those people who was like, "Do I care?" No. Which again, might be privilege.
I was a kid, but the late night TV shows went ham.
Right. And that's the thing. It was a big part of the culture. Anyway, the whole idea of I want a good president, and I want a president I can believe in, and I want a president I can stand behind, and someone I can say that's my leader. And Rillick has been working very hard at politics, so I'm not sure how presidential she seemed. She seemed more like a wheeler dealer, more like a manipulator, and that's certainly part of being a president. But here we are going, you're the leader who's giving us confidence. And I liked it. I really did like it.
No, I think those are all excellent points, John. Because it just occurred to me as you're saying this, that there are times when it isn't just about being popular or, and being respected in that way. I mean, we always want to respect the office at least. And part of doing well by the office is taking on those duties like she had to take on. And Michael said, hey, it wasn't a cop out on her part. She's the captain of a starship. Very important role, especially in this crisis, but she ain't the president.
Right. Ultimately, she's transportation. Ultimately.
Yeah.
She's
and
also
strategy
security
if necessary, but exactly.
Have you. Yes.
But
as security, yes.
Yeah. So, here's the mic, tell the people what they need to know.
Yeah,
you guys are way more naive. No, I'm just kidding. You probably maybe I'm looking into it. But we got some information though that Rillick has a partner, and I guess it's a he. I assume a humanoid species working on the moon. So this is something we got a little bit of a backstory about the president, John. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, really the great trend in Star Trek Discovery and I love when I see it anywhere in science fiction, is show us the micro and show us the macro, and then show us the micro again. So we understand that there are very important relationships. I mean, just the whole, they're going through the rough, trying to enter the barrier, and everybody's like, just think, in a couple of months, you're going to be back on Earth. And what are you going to be doing? Oh, I'm going to be skiing Hawaii. What are you going to be doing? Oh, I'm going to be surfing in Seattle. Like,
someone knows.
And there's the president like, oh, wow, you guys really do love Earth, don't you? And then she realizes,
it'd be a shame if it was destroyed.
Then she realizes that she's got to address how much they love their planet, just like the people from Navarre love Navarre. Of course they do.
Mm-hmm.
So and she does have skin in the game, as they say, because her mother's family is on Earth, her partner's on the moon. So yeah, it's the personal at the heart of it that really adheres us to the story. And even though I say that I don't love oh my gosh, Orso and Turan, what's his name again?
What are you talking about?
Tarka. I didn't love having to go through like 7 or 8 flashbacks with their relationship.
We're getting there.
But once I got there, I was like, yeah, okay, this all makes sense. I mean, ultimately, emotional stakes make sense. We're emotional people.
Is it weird when we look? Like, I got my mom that lives on Earth. I just imagine like Brooklyn, a tenement on the 7th floor, like, with the laundry outside. It sure is Earth, y'all. I do hope they get back safe because I like Earth. It's a little complicated here, but the air is all right. Well, so this is the first time I've seen the Galactic Barrier. Just from the visuals of like the visual spectrum being shifted while in the barrier, I thought was the coolest part of the episode. You don't really think about what changes senses. Was that
you might even mean sensually. You might even.
I might even, but this is why I went to the cheapest colleges I can find. What do you guys think about that? Was that too much of a gimmick, or were you guys on board with that?
No, I don't think it was a gimmick at all. As a matter of fact, I mentioned at the top of the show that this is our 3rd time seeing the barrier, but this was the first time we've seen it fleshed out, as it were, in terms of the effects it had on it, instead of just zipping in there real quick and being jutted right out like we've seen previously.
Right.
So some of the phenomena that they encountered there, I thought was really interesting. Like I said, the balls and the change in the color spectrum for, when they, as far as the senses and so forth. So no, I appreciated that. I mean, they said they felt they had to go right down the middle of this thing instead of flying over or under it. But since they did, they had a pretty great experience while they did it.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of a Green Lantern novel, which if you're the first time watching the show, I'll try to stuff in Green Lantern references all the time. But there was a novel that came out featuring Kyle Rayner. I think it was called First Flight or Second Flight or Galaxy Edge, where the villain is outside the universe. It's outside of existence, and the Green Lantern has to go out there and tries to fight this thing that exists outside of existence. I thought it was pretty cool. Add flashbacks to that. But let's get back into it. John, you mentioned it. Tarka has some backstory. We're trying to figure out who was a person of interest here. Was it a colleague? Was it a wife? Was it a partner? If we got kind of all of that, what seems to be an implied romance between Aura, I believe the name was, Oros and Tarka, where they're in that prison together. John, did this work for you? Because you said 8 flashbacks, bah humbug.
Well, I gotta admit, just the sort of surface of the story just didn't really pull me in, because we realized pretty quickly that they're cellies. They're cellmates.
Right.
And I don't know if you ever watched the show Atlanta.
Once or twice. I dabbled.
Yeah.
There comes up a point where a guy was in jail, and one of the other people in jail, they had a sexual relationship. The other person was like, hey, what's going on? And the guy's like, no, come on, man. I'm not into that. And and Donald Glover's character's like, but like in prison, the two of you were hooking up. And the guy's like, that's not gay. That's just prison.
Yikes.
Well, I got to tell you that I probably even more so than what I'm hearing from John, but I couldn't really invest myself in the B story, quote unquote, of this episode as far as the two in jail, because being a pretty diehard, all-inclusive Star Trek viewer, to me, it was just a retread of the episode Hard Time from Deep Space Nine, when O'Brien was like sent to a virtual prison and he betrayed his cellmate.
Right. Oh yeah, the virtual prison.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally different situation, obviously, but the essence of it was the same for me. I thought that the whole point of that could have probably been dealt with just a few lines of dialogue versus taking up half the show. But you know, they can't all be winners in everyone's book. So I much preferred the A story this week than the B.
I actually disagree. Let me read this comment first from Craig Robinson. He agrees with you. Didn't think Tarka earned an episode of flashbacks. Felt a bit boring to me. So the idea was to go through the barrier would be pretty much an ouchie, ouchie, ouchie to anyone's shields. So they try to get programmable antimatter. Both Discovery got theirs and Book got theirs. But I actually liked it because there's so many times we see in action movies and sci-fi movies where someone just stops everything and goes, I was in a relationship and it broke my heart. Like, to me, I didn't buy Tilly and her mom because it kind of was like a one-time dump. So I like the fact we saw this. But that said, I kind of felt like they were really treading water what we've seen. I want to see the kiss. I want to see the relationship, or not at all, and keep it professional. This weird, like they were cuddle buddies, something I had to get myself into. That was kind of weird for me.
That's so funny because I actually have that in my notes, which was like, still though, as far as we know, they were just cuddling.
Stress-free case says, I really felt Tarka because he assaulted her for 10 years, right? Fortunately, Zeus said he was sort of adorable. Yeah.
That is 100%. Oh, actually, that's mostly true because I think it was 5 years. I'm not sure it was a full 10, but you're right. The point is absolutely right, Kay, because he had been in solitary. And so he was super talkative and super outgoing. And Oros was really having. I wrote it down. There it is, Oros, which bothered me because, as you mentioned earlier, Flobo, there are such a thing as Oreos.
Yeah, they're delicious.
This would be like a character named, Girl Scout cookies, like, but with
Isn't
a
that
Z.
a strain of weed, bro?
Hey, maybe it's going to be one letter away from Eros, you know? E-R-O-S.
I really feel like, much as I love Discovery, I feel like some of the times they come up with names are like, you're Sukal, Oros. Does that work? Book. All right, cool. Like lunch. It doesn't seem very like well thought.
I totally agree. Flam, doodad, blabbity blab. Lunchtime, everybody.
There you go. There it is. Leo Dennis saying, "Oh, that's golden." That is a joke and a half.
Yes, delicious.
Woo!
This is my cellmate samosas.
Well, Tarka is like, brooding like Batman because he betrayed his cellmate. Didn't know he was going to fall in love, I assume. And he's kind of like saying he's the worst person for it. Here's a question there, Joe. Is Tarka right to beat himself up? Or is Booker right when he goes, hey, you didn't see it coming, mate. It's all right. Okay, mate. Like, just get over it, mate.
Well, I mean, I think he's right to feel bad about it, Tarka, to an extent. I think to just blow it off like Book suggests would be, I'm glad to see he doesn't have just a heart of stone like we've seen him portrayed up to this point. There is a human being there. And that's probably the one redeeming aspect, in my opinion, about that whole storyline in this week's episode. I mean, regardless of whether we would agree because how many times does someone in your life beat themselves up over something and you try to reassure them that they're going to feel bad because that's about it regardless, because that's how they feel about it.
It's usually me beating myself up, but I hear what you're saying.
So
I can't believe I said have a nice day. Oh my God, man. That's story of my life.
But it's an excellent point because it's internal and honestly, that's so funny from Craig Robinson. Flobo, are you secretly British?
Oh, wait.
You ain't wrong.
There's a little secret there. He is.
You wouldn't believe how often he calls me the C word off camera.
My parents were West Indian. They drink tea all the time. That's all I got. That was all I got. 95 degrees drinking tea. Like, what are you doing? So Queen would love it.
You drink something hot and then it brings your body temperature down. Come on, that's just simple British science.
No idea.
I have no idea where we
the
were.
Flobo has a great American accent, by the way. I mean,
Yeah,
It really does.
hiding your Cockney brogue there.
Me and the guy from All American. There's two British guys with American accents. So also we get the return kind of oddly of Adira, and Adira is someone we haven't seen in a couple weeks, and it was kind of weird because it was one scene I thought it was Tilly, but it was just Adira anyway. She is still kind of that awkward, adorable thing. Stamets is still trying to deal with this, but Stamets is just gone through the socially awkward ringer this season between that and Zora, and is finding his own place. Joe, let me ask you, Adira, welcome return, or what the heck was that?
Not an unwelcome return, but again, you know,
wow, official opinion.
But I kind of felt about the characters more or less, and you know, just as I think John said something along these lines is like maybe the way she's been handled thus far, as far as the relationship, you know, both of them. You know, if they just kind of like maybe had that at the beginning and then they evolved past it, kind of like it reminds me a little bit of this is your favorite character, Flobo, Neelix, huh?
No, that's the opposite of my favorite. I was like, Commander Non? I mean, Commander Blythe?
Oh, and they started them off in a relationship, and then they just quickly went beyond that because
that was creepy. She was like 3 years old, man. Weird.
Yeah, so I think if they had done with these two characters, you know, as far as okay, let's introduce them as such, but let's have them go on a different path, then that might have been a little more interesting to me. So, like I said, it was okay. I like the character fine, but I haven't really seen a lot to inspire me with her yet. So I wasn't real thrilled to see her, but I wasn't unpleased either. How's that for a committed answer?
I love it. That's why I said Joe for president. So Lear Judicic put Tuvix, and that's why I'm going to ban him after today's episode. So, that's why I favorite characters. John, trying to cut you off. You were saying something?
Yeah, I definitely. I guess I'm still finding some juice here. You know, I'm still getting some sweetness from this relationship, but I have to admit it's not Adira Tall that I feel this way about. It's Stamets being the overenthusiastic parent.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's and it's just so adorable. And then we find out that his father didn't do that for him. So he's warning her he's probably going to do it extra for her. And you know, I found in my sort of parental and mentor relationships that I've had, I'm the same. I always try to fix what my parents did.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's ridiculous how much I do it. When I put up this last episode of Starbase 80, Flobo, you can only put up a video that's less than an hour. And that one was over an hour. So I went through the episode and I edited out several moments where I compliment you.
Thanks. Oh. Mom, is that you? I was complimenting you too much, so I cut it out.
That bought me like 5 minutes. I was like, wow, you really went on a long time about how much you love Flobo and you love his shows and you love everything he's done for you. And it hurt to take it out, but it was like, this is not the Star Trek part. So I'm taking that out.
Supplemental, you know?
Yeah.
All Flobo, all episode.
This is the most weirdest comment I've ever heard. Like, I realized I was saying you're great for too much, so I just basically cut it out and took it from the record. Thanks, John. It almost time to get out of here.
Believe me, I felt terrible.
Yeah, you did. No, you didn't. If you're in the chat right now, give me your final thoughts on today's episode. My quote of the week comes from Saru, who's talking to Commander Reese, who goes, "Frontiers are always cool, Mr. Reese, if only we can enjoy it." That's great.
Yes.
Joe Townsel, you know, I got to ask you this question. You have that weird story with Oros. There's a lot of time spent on him. Broken ribs, I guess rib equivalent because they're not humans, but whatever. That's the rules of science fiction. Left behind. Will we see Oros again? Will Oros be the reason for the DMA today? Thoughts?
Can't see it. I think the character serves its purpose in this episode. And I think it's done. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it might not return in the future somehow, but as far as being a major linchpin in the mystery with the DMA, I'm not seeing it.
Captain.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Joe there. It seems a little too direct that those two stories would be related. Also, there's a real weirdness to the Oros story, which is somebody was smart enough that they found a teleporter that could take you to heaven.
But
it requires an amount of energy that we don't have in our galaxy. So that's interesting.
Isn't that just the worst luck? But a couple years of perfecting energy sources and bam, DMA. I'm just saying.
It's entirely possible that things are tying together, but I think what we're going to find is that there's an end to Tarka's story that we may or may not see the end, but I honestly see him getting killed very soon. And then I'm going there. I'm going to the promised land. It just seems like that to me.
Craig Robson says,
because I mean, we saw the first bit of really humanity in the character this week. So that probably serves that. Maybe it serves that bigger purpose as far as having,
he's dead. Yeah.
Making a sacrifice. He's dead.
Maybe.
He's gone.
Craig Robson says, really dragging the Tennessee stuff
Get the
out.
red shirt. Here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of been the MO for Star Trek, dragging things out. In fact, this time last year, I was kind of burnt out on the Emerald Chain, and it's kind of weird I'm being punished for it having story beats to being still in play. It's like, oh yeah, I think I wanted to be over. Maybe I should have paid attention last time around. About to close up shop here. Captain, one more question for you. Your favorite guy, Kovic, was asked to be on this mission, but he has more important things to do. What do you think he's at right now?
What? They make such a big deal out of that. I actually wrote that down where it's like, I can't imagine anything more urgent than this. And he's like, well, you'd better hope it's not. He's just such a dick about it.
Where's it going?
It's crazy. I wonder, are they shooting the Federation Starfleet Academy show right now and they have their own end of the universe storyline going on? I don't know. It's so I think maybe what they're trying to tell us is that Kovic does handle things on a regular basis that are this big. I think that's what that is.
Okay.
Therefore, when we have the show that Kovic is in prominently, which I believe is going, I'm just guessing. I think it's going to be the Tilly show. And I think it's going to be like Doctor Who, where it's like end of the universe every week. I hope not.
Screwdriver.
I find Doctor Who pretty boring because of that. So I hope that's not where we're going to end up. But
shots fired.
Maybe.
No, I haven't watched it myself.
And I'm sorry to all our British family and friends that I said that about Doctor Who.
You better apologize, you wonk. What are you, a Muppet? Come off of your knob. No. Joe, what's Kovic doing right now? You think he's out there? He has a condo in the Alpha Quadrant somewhere? Just going on vacation?
No, I have to think that, again, going back to what I hope John's wrong about it being an anticlimactic resolution to our dilemma this season. Okay, you know what? President Burnham, the crew, the delegates, they're on the front lines. They're making their way through the barrier.
Right.
Kovic, he's handling it from behind the scenes or from the back end or something like that. There's a part of it, there's a piece of it that only he can handle and only he's privy to. So I'm looking for that to be a big part of the revelation.
Well, I wish I was privy. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. This is Big Commander's Log on LinkedIn. We made it, baby. I can't believe
LinkedIn.
This. I just can't believe it, man. Woo! As we go to the Land the USS Post show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Joe Townsel, if someone wanted to interact with you, how do they do that? Besides saying, hey, Joe, how's it going? How they interact with you?
Well, as always, when you guys are great, great enough to have me on one of your shows, I mean, where is it? Over here. You found me there.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Look for me on Amazon.com. Just search for Joe Townsel there. You Flobo and I both have our author pages there. And feel free to drop me an email, joe@joetownsel.com. That works. And, you'll see my current books on the websites and on Amazon. And as I've been plugging for the last couple of appearances, we got the new one coming here real soon, making good progress on that. So that's going to be my.
I mean, congratulations, man.
So they're coming at you.
Oh man, Captain, man. If I want to go check you out, see what you're working on, I'll do with that. How go about doing that?
Starbase 80, you can find us at Starbase 80 on Twitter, the Starbase 80 page on Facebook. This week, Flobo, I sent you this email a little earlier. I know you're busy today, so I'll just tell you right now on your show. We will be beginning the two-parter. We are beginning the two-parter Scorpion, parts 1 and 2 from Voyager, and we're going to meet 7 of 9. So that's going to be very exciting.
Good episodes.
Also, in less than a week, Joe Townsel will be joining me, Leo Genesek, and Chris Pitcher as we get ready for the premiere of Picard Season 2, what we like to call Picarder.
You know me, I love puns. In fact, one of my friends got me a pun the day calendar, and I swear to you, it's one of the most daddy jokes ever. My favorite movie, without a doubt, is Misfire. You see this? This is the reason why. A menace. But
awful. That is.
It is.
Well, you know, you guys, just real quick, there's always the saga of the poor, Eskimo that lives up in Alaska, and he was he's in the market for a new boat. Couldn't find one with a heating system. And he says, "What are you talking about? Up there in Alaska, I need a new boat. What are you telling me?" He says, "We got to, get into the old proverb, you can't have your kayak and heat it too." Oh.
What kind of insect gives milk?
I don't even want to know.
Boob bees.
You asked for a Flobo. I'm sorry. You said you like the puns.
We like puns. We like puns. We like puns.
puns.
We like puns. We like
Flobo is he's stupefied in shock. Look at him.
Good night, everyone.